What's going on? Move the Mouse back in the town of Rosewood. Let's play season 10, episode number something. Lost track a long time ago. What to do? So we're going to take a real quick look at the budget today. And more specifically policies where we can save some money. If we go over, I did want to look at policies, but I want to try and troubleshoot our problem here first. So, you know, we could turn things down like road maintenance. I think we've got really good traffic, and we may not need that many. But where is our budget going, right? Income and expenses. Losing a couple $100. So we're making good money from low density residential and commercial. We don't have any high density residential or commercial. We've got some specialized zoning, and we're bringing in a decent amount of tourists. No industrial zoning, a little bit of budget from office, thanks to the last episode's office park. And then transport, tolls. We're making $100 per cycle on people just coming in and out of that private green neighborhood. Parks are doing okay. They're pulling in some money. They could be pulling in a lot more, though, if we found a couple spots that maybe people wanted to cut through. And in fact, hang on a second. Maybe we do that, right? So let's go into districts. Let's go into... No, it's in a different spot. Park area painting tools. So we've actually called all of this a park already. So let's draw this out so that we get both sides of the footpath there. And now what we can do, so let's delete this. We're going to go into the nature path because is this a small side gate? That at least fits a little better, I think. Does it? Or is that silly? That's silly with the parking lot. Let's cancel that. Let's go with the small main side gate. Area already has a main gate. Okay. That could work. We're going to charge people to use this, basically. Where else does this path go? This path comes over here. Ooh, can we get this in here? Is the question. It's saying that it's not in a park area. Now that should be in a park area. So we could do that. Let's see if it'll let us connect the paths, though. Let's go with standard paths. It's a little bendy. We can deal with it. Will this just connect straight? That connects straight enough. That's okay. And something like that. So now, for all these people that are walking through here, they're going to be making us some money just to walk through and use this pedestrian shortcut. Let's see where else we can do that, because I think that's a really kind of cheeky way that we can squeeze some extra money out of our town. So let's see. Let's go into regular camera mode and see where we see a lot of people walking around. Ton of people over here. Ton of people walking over this way. Do we want to give them a footpath that like comes off of here into that area? And I think we should, yeah, we should totally do this one over here. Let's double check our park area covers all of that block. It does. And then let's extend it over here just a little bit so that we can get the end of these streets and snap some park paths in over there as well. We're not even park paths, right? Regular paths are fine. We just want to get the gates in. We want to get the gates in so that they're paying a little bit of money just to take those shortcuts. I'm just going to do one over here for now. And then let's hit play again. Let's see where people are cutting through on foot. So there's a decent amount of foot traffic over this way. Would doing something like a park path that cuts up into this neighborhood help us? I feel like it might if we put it way over here by this train station. I feel like people would cut through, but let's find out. So back over to our park areas. Yeah, we don't have any parks over here. So what if we made, you know, Aspen Heights and over a park area? So something like that, right? And then now we can put in any kind of pedestrian paths that we want. Space already occupied. Why? Why is that already occupied? That looks perfectly fine to me. Just because it's curved ever so slightly, you're going to let me put it on the other side of the curve? Okay, we're going to delete that segment of road, and then we're going to do a perfectly straight shot of 4-lane tram line. Yeah. Now that shouldn't impact this building because it's still close enough to the entrance. That should allow us. Get out of town. Are you serious? You're going to let me put it there when it's not actually hooked to the road? Okay. I'll take it. I will take it, honestly, at this point. I'm fine with that. Let's do, though, where do we want to hook this in? So where do we want to... Maybe we can get it right there. Kind of hook it in that way. Maybe we could bring one in. Space already occupied. Come on. It really hates the curves of these roads. Let's do one there. And we'll do one down here, if it'll let us. Of course not. It'll let me put it there. Will it let me get a footpath through there? I don't think it will. Oh, man. Okay. So that'll eat up a little bit of zoning. That's okay. I'd like to get one over here. I would really like to get one over because I think this would help encourage some people. Okay, do we do the same trick again? Let's see what our segment is like. So let's delete this segment. Back to roads with tram lines. Straight. And then back over to city side gate. And that will let us connect now. Okay, good. So let's come over there. We'll go back to our footpaths. I don't know how much money this is going to make, but it honestly can't hurt. So we'll do that. And then where was our other gate coming out? It was over here. That's okay. Then we just need to hook this one up. Okay, we are paused right now. Let's drop a couple more in over here. Let's take a look at our parks again. Because I don't care that they're separate parks. They just need to be parks so that we can drop side gates and in turn charge people for using the pedestrian paths in the area. So that was only what? What did we do really? We did a new park area over there. We added some extra gates over here. We've got so many uniques and park objects along this strip. Do we still have these the room here through some of these neighborhoods? I deleted a bunch of them. I had a grid in a grid of pedestrian paths inside. But let's go in here. Let's delete these. Right? Let's make all these crossroads, and actually those two, if they have those cross streets, we still want to give people the pedestrian path coming through here, but we want to charge them. So let's do this center block first. I'll kind of show you again one more time what I'm doing, and then I will fast forward and do a bunch of this because you don't need to see this again and again. Now, ironically, these side gates obviously cost us a bit of money and they cost a bit of upkeep, but they also allow a little bit of money making while still encouraging people to use these as footpaths. So win-win. You're reducing traffic and you're making some money. Never a bad thing. Can we get one in there? I think we can. And we don't have to connect these necessarily all the way through the blocks. So back to regular pedestrian paths. Oh, okay. No, we did do park paths through here, so get all these connected. So we didn't really change anything graphically, right? Or aesthetically, I should say. Other than just having these little gate entrances. So it's very small, it's very subtle. But let's see where we're at. So if we go back into economy, and again, we're running a very tight margin. Right now we're making a little more than we're expending. But the thing to look for is parks. It's this one, third from the bottom. On the income, we're making currently $4,345. All we've done is change some footpaths and give people some extra options for, not necessarily extra options. There were a few extra options, I guess, but we're giving them the option of paying or staying home. So pay. So let's leave this on 3 times speed for a minute and see if that increases our budget. I'm going to let it run. What is it? The month of July 2058. Let's let it run till the end of the month. So when that hits August, we'll go back in and take a look at our budget and see if it's any different. Be right back. Okay, it is officially August now, 2058. And let's go back into our economy. And we're making $7,327. We've almost doubled what our parks are making just by adding in a handful of gates. What has that done to traffic? Well, I should have looked at traffic before, but I think we were around 90%, 87%. You know, maybe people are less willing to walk because now they have to pay for it, but we don't really have a traffic problem. We've got spots. We've got spots where it's heavy, but it's moving. It's not getting too backed up. This is one of the busiest areas in the map because there's a lot of trams converging. In fact, you can see a ton of them on screen right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at one point there. And this is one of the busiest spots because it connects. This is the end of one tram line and the beginning of another tram line right across the way. So it's a really busy spot. Not enough educated workers. Well, that shouldn't be an issue. Way back over here, This is also, I bet, wasting a lot of money. So let's look at our campus. We're renowned. We don't really care about the level at this point. We are maintaining renowned level, just barely, with our population. That's totally fine. Totally fine. But look at our capacity. Student capacity is 6,400, and we're using like a fifth of that. So we definitely could back some of this down, though. I like the look of it. 69 of 300, 77 of 300, 40 of 300, 77 of 300. So, you know, do we save a couple $100 and shut 2 of these down? Right? Because they're not that they're going to move immediately into another dorm, but so we made everybody unhappy with that, or did we just lose a game? What happened? Let's see what that does for our capacity, though. Does it bring it down just a little bit? That doesn't affect student capacity? I just move students out? Buildings turned off, but students still live there? What? I'm just going to leave these on. That is not enough of a money saving to bother. Whatever. Let's not mess with our campus. Too late, right? Somebody was like, too late, Mouse. You already did it. That's okay. We just made everybody happy again. Whatever. That's not where we're going to save our money. Where we're going to make money is by doing more pedestrian path cut throughs, most likely. But we're in the green, right? And that's where we want to be. If we're slanting more towards the green and we added a couple $1,000s, we're keeping ourselves predominantly out of the red. That's okay. I say that as we jump way into the red, but you know, little things like that, adding park paths or specifically park gates where you already had pedestrian paths can make a huge difference. So I get asked all the time. Let me cut over to cinematic camera for a minute. I get asked all the time, what's your favorite DLC? And it honestly changes from time to time. Depends on what kind of problems you're dealing with in your current build. What useful tools might help you out. So money-wise, like industries can be an amazing money maker, but it requires proper management of your resources. So you have to manage your entire production chain. You have to make enough food to feed the animals, to send some of it to flour production, to send it to the bakery, specific to farming, right? And it's the same sort of thing, balancing that production chain, you know, taking raw timber and making it into, or raw forest products and turning it into timber and paper and then building stuff with that. Your oil, you can do plastics, or you can do glass. So, you know, there's definitely ways to make money with industry. Requires a bit more management. I think park life is a really nice way to, one, beautify your city, but also make some money in the process because people love the pedestrian paths. I mentioned this, I think, on the stream most recently, but I should bring it up in a video here in case you don't watch those. The thing with any road network, the faster the road, if you have 2 roads running parallel and one of them's a highway, one of them's a 2-lane road, the highway's faster. You can travel faster on the highway. So the Sims will divert that way. They'll go there instead, right? That's the faster way for me to get to the same place because the speed limit on that road is faster. And what's built into the game code is the same thing with pedestrian paths, right? Why should a pedestrian take a pedestrian path if they could just walk on the sidewalk? Well, they technically have a higher speed limit, so they're more prone to calculate that as the faster and preferable route. So pedestrian paths are fantastic for that, footpaths, whatever you want to call them. And you can do that with the default game to help reduce traffic. But if you have park life, you can use that trick to throw some gates on, make some extra money in the process. And I should have looked at the traffic beforehand because it might negatively impact your traffic a bit. People now have to calculate payment into that, right? So right there, we've got 2 pedestrian paths going into the zone. I don't see any gates on those, so we should fix that next. I'm going to pop in. Let me jump in. Give me 1 minute to go look at some of those pedestrian paths that already exist and drop a few more of these gates in to make sure that we're not missing out on any money where we could be. And what we've got to do is we've got to come into park areas and make sure that all of these spots are actually covered up by the road. And it looks like they are. So let me go in and just drop in a few more of those park gates. And then again, we'll let it run maybe for a month and see what happens. All right, so I dropped in just a handful more of some park gates. They were actually giving me a ton of problems on the curved roads for whatever reason. They really, really don't like to snap to those. So for those of you on PC, just plop it anywhere and then move it. It's a nice option, but you may have to tinker with your roads a little bit. And if this is something that you want to put long-term into your city, definitely something that you should think about early, right? Because before you move everybody in, if you know you want to snap a park gate to that road, make sure it snaps before you have to move the road, move a bunch of buildings. I put them in where I could. Again, we'll let it run for 12 more days at this point. We'll get into the month of October 2058. And yeah, let's see where that budget's at. It was 7,000. So, hopefully we get up into 8 with those few changes, but we'll see. And here we are, October 2058. Let's pause it. Let's pause it on October 2nd. So let's go back in, look at our, nope, not info views, economy and parks budget 7120. Okay, so that actually didn't help us out too much. So I've got to, I got to figure out, I wish I had thought of this ahead of time, right? Would have made it a lot easier than having to make all these changes. One thing I do wonder, maybe somebody knows in the comments, this right here is a different neighborhood and you can get onto this path and walk through here and exit out this way. I don't think you pay on exit, right? You pay on entrance. So we're losing out some there because I didn't snap to that spot. Interestingly enough, though, if you just wanted to get from here down to the street, you're not allowed to walk on that toll booth path. There's no sidewalk there. So people would have to kind of come out this way and go through here. I couldn't get one on this side. And again, I'd just taken my time a little bit in the original setup. I wish there was a gravel gate, right? Because that one little silly path of pavement kind of looks silly where we otherwise have gravel and nature path roads, but I can deal. And we are profitable most of the time. One thing, that we haven't done is if we go over here into transport, I was going to say transport. We can do a couple things here. So there are hot air balloon tours. There's a sightseeing bus depot. And there's also a walking tour point of interest. So you can give, where do we come in from transport, right? So let's see. Let's say we wanted to stop at the, you come into town on the train, you walk over here, and let's say you want to see some stuff. You don't want it to go too far. And apparently you can snap them to footpaths that are connected to buildings. That's interesting. So let's have them kind of walk. How do we get back up there? Yeah, we could go around that loop. So maybe we have them stop at the university. We have them stop at Old Market Street. We'll have them, cross? No, I guess you could come here to the clock tower and stay on this side of the road. Stop at the theater over here before hooking back up this way. And when you do little stuff like that, or specifically, I should say, when you do walking tours, don't make them too long. If they're too long, people won't walk them. But that will generate some foot traffic in an area and give tourists more of a reason to come into your city, right? And you want to have them stop at buildings that are unique, that are, more interesting on, Do we bring people into the town this way and have them do a walking tour of the stadiums and then walk back out? There you go. There's a second walking tour. Check out come by the train, walk to the stadiums, check them out and leave. And then where do we have another good pocket? So we have another good pocket like that. We've got fires happening. That one got put out quick. Nice. So maybe we do one that is just on the main street, right? You can take the tram to here. Maybe we walk through this central park. Maybe we cross the street and view that before we hit Market. Ooh, I should connect that pedestrian path up. Because they walk around in a really funny way right there. I think this will calculate and fix it. But let's do the park paths. Can we get one right there? That way there's a way into Market Street from the other side. For reals with the fires. Come on. It's like nonstop. So again, little stuff like that, you know, give tourists an extra reason to come into town. If we want to give tourists another reason, we could. Do we do an airport way up here? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do we need an airport in a small town like this? Maybe, you know, the local airport, the stunt flyer airport, but I don't know. I don't think we need it. I think we just need to pick away and do little things like that. You know, we're plus 10, plus 8 in the green right now. It will drop into the red again. We're up over 12 million again, though. So, I mean, I think we're more steadily making money at this point. I don't know. It's December 4th. We've done it a few times. Let's take a look at two things. Let's take a look, one, at traffic, 91%. And then let's take a look at our economy, 8,961 on parks. Keep in mind that I built that walking tour. One of those walking tours goes through the park. So I think that will force people to walk through there more, especially tourists, people that come in from out of town, and in turn pay money to the park. So that can be good. But you notice that we're creating a larger divide now between income and expense by doing these little tweaks. And that's really what it's all about. I don't want to do anything drastic to the city itself. Let's let it play on 3 times speed. We're at 12 million. We're, you know, 2,000 to 8,000 to 10,000. Keep an eye on that budget. It's going to go up and down. There you go. Negative 3,600. How quick does it snap back, though, is the question. And when we get to the end of the month of December, were we better or worse for having done these things? Well, only time will tell. Be right back. And Happy New Year 2059. I'm actually going to let this run through January while I talk for a minute here, because we had a couple weeks of negative budget, and now we're on a good stretch of positive budget, trending back down, though, as you can see. As soon as I talk, I need to be quiet, but it's inconsistent. And one of the reasons it's inconsistent is definitely industry. Industry is not a consistent source of income because of the ebb and flow of the production chain. So, you know, we could maybe saturate that a bit more, but for the most part, I think it's in pretty good shape. I think we're making money consistently, and even though it is razor thin or negative at times, I think it's more positive than it is negative. So maybe I'll even let this run for like a year and see where the budget is at, because that's most important, or where our treasury value is at, I guess I should say. Because the budget ebbs and flows, but what does it do over time? Is it more positive or more negative? Is it keeping us kind of right at the center of things? So let me do this. I will time lapse a year in game, and we are at 12,044,000. Let's see where that is after a year with no actual expense, just kind of sitting here waiting it out. So super quick time lapse. It's going to take me a while. In fact, 12:36. When I started this year. So let's see what time it is when it's all said and done. I'll be right back. You'll see it super quick. I'll let you know how long it took me, but let's see where the budget trends over the course of an entire calendar year before we worry about tweaking things too much, right? We can go in there and, you know, make these micro adjustments, but ultimately if we're making money, we may not need to change that much. We just need to stop worrying about the negative budget that happens every once in a while. Let's see where we're at in 2060. Be right back. Happy New Year, I think. Let's pause it. It's January 2060. I had a couple diversions that I made there along the way, thanks to fire, and the end of the year was no disappointment. I just dropped an extra fire station in up here in the farming area because these were starting to burn. And yes, we have helicopter service, but that's also trying to put out a massive fire around our disaster response unit. More on that in 1 second. It's trying to put out a fire over here and over here in the trees. So it could be a while before they get to all those. One of the things I may want to add is a second helicopter depot in this city of 35,000, which seems absolutely ridiculous, but I love to decorate with trees and they love to burst into flames. So what happened during the year? Well, the most important diversion was over here. Had a big fire at first, halfway through the year in the farming district. The main building burned down though. And if you demo that to rebuild it, you can pause the game and not, lose the focus of the area, but you do lose your levels in progression, which kind of stinks. We've unlocked things already. So, I think we'd have to produce the goods all over again and make sure we maintain the employee count. But also we may have knocked things back from where we initially leveled up. So either way, what I did was to get around that. You can build a disaster response unit and that has a massive fire happening around it. So I don't know what happens if the disaster response unit gets destroyed. But essentially this will send out helicopters to then give you the ability to rebuild buildings that get burned down. So yeah, again, I don't know what happens if this one burns down. I guess you have to just destroy it and drop it back in because there's no way to search it at that point. Unless you have a second disaster response unit, which again, in a city of 35,000 is, I feel like I don't even need one, but I kind of wanted to rebuild. I think we just won a game. I think we wanted to rebuild. We did. We might have won 2 games, both games, because there weren't happy and sad faces. The game's lit out at the same time. So look at that. Look at that pedestrian path. They love that. So dang. All right. That's where our next park is going, is there and here. And all those people that come and go to the games. Maybe we could do something here, like turn this into a highway, a little tiny segment of highway so that there's no pedestrian paths over here, and then force them into a pedestrian path that takes them through the park pass. That could be devious. I also dropped in a fire station up here. But anyways, all right, all that aside, let's look at our traffic nightmare right now, because this is as busy as traffic gets in the city as when 2 games are letting out at the same time, I think. And we've got 91% flow. We're slow up here, but what is this impacting? Nothing but the people leaving the game. Totally fine with that. They could have taken the train in and out of here. And in fact, a lot of people do, which is nice. They might take the train out of the city if they were coming in, maybe rooting for the opposing team that pretty sure just lost. So in your face. But in that case, those are all people that are actually heading back into town. So did you see all those people that got onto that train? Let's look at this real quick. Let's just see. 240 absolutely filled. So let's see. Do people pour out here to then use the other spots? Maybe they get on the bus to get to the tram. Yeah, looks like they're lining up decent for that middle bus stop. We'll look more. We should probably look right now just to see how these bus lines are doing. So if we look at this bus line, where are all the people waiting? That's the one that goes to my office park. That's not going to be the one. 334 people are taking the yellow line right now. And there's 252 stacked up over at that stop. Where's that? Interesting. Okay, so that's after the game. Some people walk, rather than taking the train, they walk down here to get this bus stop to get on towards, again, the trams. They all kind of link back up towards the trams. So this stop will probably get busy next. But we've got 334 waiting for the yellow line. Where's yellow go? Again, that kind of comes over here pretty close to the maybe to the trams. Either way, that's the one that cuts through here, so I have it set as a school bus. That was, I think, part of the free update. I think most people can do that. I don't know if you can do that on Switch though. But okay, why are we here? Well, for squirrel moments, hopefully, because what we wanted to talk about was how much money do we make in a year. It's already February, but we're at 12 million 464,000. We started at 12,044,000. So is this the most profitable city? No, I think all my cities that have kind of made it to this late stage in the build are generally more profitable than that. But we weren't trying to make a profit here with Rosewood. We were trying to go green, right? We were trying to get pollution all the way down. And we've got farming and forestry, and there's a little pollution from some of the factories, but again, it doesn't spread. We've got pollution from things like recycling, but I think the Ultimate Recycling Center doesn't pollute, just noise pollution, maybe. But we did pretty good, right? We've got no industry. We've got a little bit of office. In terms of industry, we're specializing only on farming and forestry, no generic industry. And we've got zero pollution. We did drop in our Eden project to do that after reaching max pop or max milestone, that is, and then backing things down a bunch. But overall, I think we've achieved our objective of building a green city that doesn't pollute. We're doing some farm and nuclear power, wind farm and nuclear power, and one little isolated water turbine. Do we have one over here too? No, just wind turbines for these. But we're pretty green. But in order to do that, let's go back and look at a couple things just to remind you kind of why the budget is so razor thin on a build like this. So when we go into our district specializations, right, you have your standard or your self-sufficient buildings. Now with self-sufficient buildings, they generate 30% less tax income. They make less garbage. They use less electricity, so those help, but they are putting less money back in terms of tax, right? Now we didn't do IT cluster because those are some of the tallest buildings in the game, and that wouldn't make sense here in a city that was kind of modeling after Boulder, Colorado, where the tallest building is 12 stories, I think. So you could generate more tax revenue on your office zone with something like the IT cluster. That would help in the long run, but not something that we did here. We also did organic and local produce. That helps reduce traffic by producing goods locally. It does increase electricity consumption, but we kind of balance that out by having a really large pocket of green residential, which uses less, and it accumulates less garbage. Now that doesn't directly impact our taxes, but those are, I think, some pretty good benefits. Policy-wise across the city, where are we spending money? Recycling gives us slightly reduced tax income, but it means less garbage accumulation, and we can support pretty much the entire city on that one monument. And then I think I've got a recycling plant somewhere that was just way too far on the edge of the grid. Things like recreational use give us slightly increased tax income, but it increases the police budget, increases tourism. There's pros and cons to pretty much all of these. Originally, I had standard ticket prices. I raised ticket prices to high on public transport, 25% more profit. And although it may result in less passengers, it hasn't resulted in any less traffic, and I think just makes us more money. Recycled plastic does cost us per week per recycling center, but we don't have many of those, so it's not a problem. I think, let me double check. What do we have? We have one here. We have the ultimate recycling plant there, and then we have one over here. So policy-wise, it's costing us a couple hundred, 300 per week, technically, if it applies to the ultimate recycling plant as well, but it causes them to work at an additional 20% efficiency, and we're not really adding up a lot of cost there, considering how few we have in this town. Now, some things that definitely help these first three, absolutely worthwhile. Perks for small businesses, it costs an upkeep per building, but they double their sales, which means you can potentially double your tax income for what you're pulling in from that zone. Same thing with big business benefactor, perks for large businesses, but I don't think that applies in our town because we don't have any large or high density commercial. Industrial as well, you can turn that on and it costs per building. I'm not using it in this case, but again, gives you a better return with a small cost of upkeep. High-tech housing increases land value, but at this point, probably doesn't matter thanks to Green Cities Eden project. I always want to say Green Cities there. High-rise band, we're just doing that to keep buildings from getting too tall. They does prevent them from reaching their highest level, unfortunately, which is it's unfortunate. It's what it is. It's the best way to say it. as buildings level up, they can support more workers, sometimes more highly educated workers, which is especially useful in office. But overall, it's just really important to maintain the aesthetics of the city more than anything. We are encouraging biking. So when this policy is active, most citizens will prefer bicycles over motor vehicles. That helps out our traffic a lot. We didn't really commit any super highways to bikes. So, I probably could have reduced traffic even more. Maybe we'll take a look at that before the end of the series to finally get to something I think I promised like 20 episodes ago. We're filtering industrial waste, which causes industrial buildings to basically pollute less. But again, I don't think that impacts anything. It's a cost per building per week, but I don't have any standard industry, so it shouldn't matter. Industry 4.0, new technology, basically increased production output, reduces workplaces by 30% though. It shifts where the workplaces are though. It is for well and highly educated citizens. So whether or not that impacts offices, I'm not sure, but it definitely impacts standard industry. So if you're using that and you have, a campus and good education in the city, something to think about definitely turning on. So again, overall budget wise, it's not the most profitable city I've built by any means. I want to say Wood Garden had a budget surplus regularly running somewhere 50 to 100,000 most of the time. So if I ran that city as long as I've run this one in game time, I'm sure I would just be rolling in the dough and no idea what to spend it on. But the bottom line here is Rosewood is in a profitable state. It ebbs and flows and it may go down into the red, but it's up into the green more. And it's easier to see when we break it down like we did today across an entire year. Again, we started the calendar year 2059 at 12,044,000. And we ended up somewhere 12 million high threes or low fours. Either way, it's not anything we're going to retire on, right? But it certainly gives us, the ability to just sit back and not worry about that. I was kind of wondering because I'm still building and bleeding into the budget, and that budget is thin, but ultimately we are making money, and just it takes a lot of time to see that. So when we do big projects, our money may dip, and a lot of people have commented that, I'm going into the red and we got to fix that. And yes, it's true, we're in the red right now as I say that, but over the year, over the long term, city's profitable. It's thin, but there's a reason it's thin, because we're spending a lot of money try and keep people happy and try and keep things clean and pollution free. That ultimately was the point of Rosewood. Hopefully you're enjoying. I've been slacking a little bit here and there, and it's not slacking, right? Those of you that follow the channel know I deal with anxiety and starting up a new job and training for that. It's just been so crazy busy, and it's been tough to keep up, but it's good to get back into cities. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts, comments. Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, and if you stayed tuned this long, you probably did, please hit that like button. Likes, comments, shares, they all help the channel. They're all greatly appreciated. If you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications for updates in this and other series. Stop on by the Discord if you want to talk cities or all kinds of other games. We play on all platforms too. There's a community of fans of the game and of the channel over there. Link in the description down below. Speaking of links down there, if you want to support the channel, there's a couple ways you can do so. And more information on that down there in the description. New content Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I've been doing a Wednesday PC live stream at 8 p.m. Eastern. So you can always check out the replays, but if you want to tune in live, it's usually happening then. Come by the Discord though for updates, schedule, and to find out when things like that are happening easier. With all that out of the way though, let's call it quits for Rosewood for this week. We'll see you next week. Until then, move the mouse, signing off.